Hello and a very good morning. You're watching the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Here are this morning's headlines. US backs India's right to defend itself in the wake of surgical strikes, dismisses Pakistan's attempts to link peace in Afghanistan to resolution of Kashmir issue. Opposition seeks apology from Defence Minister for asserting that Congress claims of previous surgical strikes were false. Parikar says full credit for recent strikes should go to armed forces and government's planning. AIADMK rubbishes DMK jibe that ailing Jayalalitha was consulted over portfolio allocation to Pannir Selvam. DMK Chief Karunanidhi had said it was surprising that Jaya's advice was sought. Another terror strike in Afghanistan. 14 people killed following a blast outside a Shia mosque in Balkh province. Second blast in less than 24 hours. UN's human rights chief says Donald Trump's election could be dangerous. UNHRC head says Trump's views are deeply unsettling and disturbing. Well, let's begin with our top focus on the bulletin this morning. The US has come out in support of India's right to defend itself in the wake of the surgical strikes carried out on terror launch pads across the line of control. The White House has supported India's right to self-defense in the aftermath of the Uri attack. The US has termed the terror attack a clear case of cross-border terrorism. However, Washington has advised caution given the heavy militarization between the two countries. But in what comes as a blow to Pakistan, the US has dismissed the recent attempts by Pakistan to link peace in war-torn Afghanistan with the resolution of the Kashmir issue. The White House has said that it is making every effort to ensure that India become a member of the nuclear suppliers group by the end of this year. This was stated by Peter Lavoy, the White House's point person for South Asia. He termed India-US ties as the most dynamic relationship for the US. Last week, Lavoy met the two special envoys of Pakistan, Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif on Kashmir. The two Pakistani envoys in their public meetings had linked peace in Afghanistan to resolving the Kashmir issue. Well, the political battle in India with last month's surgical strikes continues. The Congress responded sharply to Defence Minister Manohar Parikar's assertion that the Congress's claims of carrying out surgical strikes were false. Parikar had also said that the credit for the surgical strikes belonged to the armed forces and the whole country and not any political party. Here's a report.
Amid allegations by opposition parties that the government is taking undue credit for the recent surgical strikes in Pak-occupied Kashmir, Defence Minister Manohar Parikar said on Wednesday that every Indian, including the doubting Thomases, can share the credit with the Indian Army for the successful operation.
I don't mind sharing credits, including the surgical strikes, with every countryman of this great country, because it is done by our armed forces and not by any political party. So all Indians, including those doubting Thomases, also including, can share the credit.
Parikar, however, asserted that a major share of the credit for the strikes does go to the Prime Minister and the government for decision-making and planning.
One for myself, I will only share the credit. At the most, the major share goes to Prime Minister. But the issue I will at least claim the credit is decision-making ability and planning.
Parikar's remarks come at a time when a number of opposition leaders, including Rahul Gandhi, have accused the Prime Minister and his cabinet ministers of exaggerating the government's role in the military action across the line of control. The Congress even claimed that when it was in power, 3 similar cross-border strikes had been carried out. Those, however, were not publicized to prevent escalation of tensions with Pakistan and to allow the army the secrecy and space it needs for highly sensitive operations.
It does not behove a Defence Minister of India to insult the service, sacrifice and valor of our armed forces by shamelessly denying the spectrum of earlier surgical strikes by our armed forces to defend the honor as also the country at large. Blinded by political vote garnering out of the blood and sacrifice of our soldiers, Mr. Parikar is unabashedly lying and misleading the people of India.
Amid the political heat over the surgical strikes, families of soldiers beheaded by Pakistani militants in 2011 lashed out at those doubting the Indian army.
ऐसी राजनीति नहीं होनी चाहिए क्योंकि पाकिस्तान बॉर्डर में अपने बच्चों को लड़ाई में भेजे तो तब इन लोगों को पता चलेगा कि लड़ाई लड़नी क्या चीज़ होती है।
के लिए क्या करना है वही खुद जरा बॉर्डर में जाके देखें क्या हो रहा है क्या नहीं हो रहा है करके खुद जाएं अपने बच्चों को भेजें तब उन्हें पता चलेगा कि क्या हो रहा है क्या नहीं हो रहा है।
Lance Naik Devinder Singh and Havaldar Jaipal Singh Adhikari were killed by Pakistani terrorists in July 2011 during a gun battle. Their mutilated bodies were later dumped near the line of control in Kupwara district of Jammu and Kashmir. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, the 56-hour gun battle between militants and security forces in Pampore in Jammu and Kashmir ended with the killing of 2 terrorists. Terrorists had entered the government building and had been holed up there since Monday morning. Here's more.
After 56 hours of a fierce gun battle, the encounter in Pampore district of Jammu and Kashmir finally ended on Wednesday, leaving 2 terrorists dead. One terrorist was killed on Tuesday while another was shot dead today morning at the battered Entrepreneurship Development Institute building. Army used over 50 rockets, machine guns and hundreds of grenades against the terrorists holed up inside the government building. Elite para-commandos of the army were also called in to neutralize the terrorists. According to sources, the terrorists used rockets, grenades and automatic gunfire to cover themselves.
This operation was a very tricky operation because it is a very huge building and we did not want to do any of the collateral damage. There are 2 people who have been eliminated and the 2 weapons which have been recovered. Rest of the things, as far as recoveries are concerned, we'll give you the list about all the things. Otherwise, this operation, because of being too many rooms and too many floors, it is a tedious process.
2 security personnel and a policeman were injured in the encounter. The encounter between security forces and terrorists at EDI building began on Monday when the terrorists stormed into the complex and took positions inside the building. In a separate incident, the army foiled an infiltration bid by militants from across the line of control in Tangadhar sector of Kupwara district.
The encounter that took place in Baramulla, the attack that happened, we had information that there might be people who would try to sneak into the city or carry out these type of attacks on the highway. So our people were alert. We are prepared for any eventuality. So any deployment that has to be done in terms of defensive posturing, that is being done, and also in terms of proactive operations, they would also be conducted.
Curfew remained in force in parts of Srinagar as a precautionary measure on the 10th day of Muharram. Restrictions were also imposed in 4 police station areas of Saur, Lal Bazar, Zadibal and Nigeen. Normal life was affected in the valley for the 96th day due to a shutdown called by separatists. However, shops and other business establishments opened for business during the relaxation announced by the separatists on same day of the week. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, Home Minister Rajnath Singh on Wednesday reviewed the security situation in Jammu and Kashmir with Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar, National Security Advisor Ajit Doval and other top officials. During the hour-long meeting, top officials briefed the Home Minister and Defence Minister on the situation in Jammu and Kashmir in the wake of the 56-hour gun battle in Pampore in which 2 terrorists were killed. Rajnath Singh and Defence Minister also took stock of the situation along the line of control and reviewed the steps taken to check attempts of infiltration from across the border. Late on Wednesday night, the Gujarat Anti-Terrorism Squad arrested 2 Pakistani ISI agents from Khavda in Kutch district. Identified as Mohammad Alana and Safur Sumara, ATS is learned to have recovered several incriminating documents pertaining to the movements of Indian Army and paramilitary forces in the region with them. Well, Pakistan has told the UN that India has closed all doors to bilateral dialogue. This was conveyed by Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif's Kashmir envoys to the President of the General Assembly as they handed over a dossier on alleged human rights violations in Kashmir. Senator Mushahid Hussain and Shezra Mansab Ali called on President of UN General Assembly Peter Thompson in New York and briefed him about what Pakistan says is the grave threat to peace and security posed by the deteriorating human rights situation in Kashmir. Hussain told Thompson that India has stoked war hysteria and it has been done to distract world attention from its actions to suppress the legitimate demand of the Kashmiri people for self-determination. He also claimed that India has closed all doors to bilateral dialogue, scuttled a regional summit SARC, and at the international level refused to implement UN Security Council resolutions. Pakistan has alleged that all this posed an imminent threat to regional peace and security. The Pakistan Foreign Ministry in its statement says that Thompson expressed concern at the situation and assured the visiting envoys that he would do everything possible to foster peace. Meanwhile, The Nation, a leading Pakistani daily, has asked the government and military establishment why action against JEM chief Masood Azhar and JUD's Hafiz Saeed was a danger to the country's national security. The editorial, How to Lose Friends and Alienate People, said that the report by journalist Almeida has been called fabricated and speculative reporting by the authorities. The editorial also questions on why no explanation has been given to the visible presence of banned outfits in the state. It questions how and why the government and the military were lecturing the press instead of taking actions against Azhar and Saeed. The strong editorial in the Daily came after journalist Cyril Almeida of Dawn was banned from leaving Pakistan because of his report on the rift between the military and the government over the military's covert support to militant groups such as the Haqqani Network, the Taliban and the LET. The editorial said it was a disturbing day when civilian and military top leadership meet to lecture and the media on how to do their job. Jaish-e-Mohammed chief and Pathankot terror attack mastermind Azhar Masood and Jamaat-ud-Dawa chief Hafiz Saeed, the mastermind of the 2008 Mumbai attacks, allegedly roam freely in Pakistan and are believed to have the protection of the military. In other news now, the Cabinet Committee on Parliamentary Affairs will be meeting today. A decision on bringing forward the winter session of Parliament is likely to be taken. The government plans to commence the session in the second week of November. The winter session is normally convened in the third or the fourth week of November, but this year the government is looking at starting the month-long session immediately after the end of the festive season. An early session would help the central GST and the integrated GST legislations, which will pave way for the goods and services tax to be approved within November or latest by early December. Home Minister Rajnath Singh will chair the meeting. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj and Parliamentary Affairs Minister Anant Kumar are the members of the CCPA among others. The government is also considering advancing the budget session by a month or so starting from January next year. Well, here's a roundup of the other national news and nationwide. The centre announced on Wednesday that no government office can dispense with or reduce in rank of an employee who acquires any disability during his or her service. The Department of Personnel and Training has amended Central Civil Services Rules of 1972 to make it easier for such employees to continue in service or to get invalid pension. It also makes it mandatory for the government departments not to deny promotion to a key person merely on the ground of his disability. NCP Chief Sharad Pawar on Wednesday met Prime Minister Narendra Modi and pitched for reservation for the Maratha community without diluting the quota for other communities. Pawar said the community needed facilities that were available to others less privileged as a substantial section of the Marathas subsist on farming. Delhi Lieutenant Governor Najib Jung has given the nod to create 2 new police districts in the national capital in order to strengthen law and order. Rohini and Shadara are the two new proposed districts. They are likely to be created by the end of this week. Citing difficulties for a single DCP to monitor widespread district, the decision was taken for the creation of new districts, which will ensure speedy resolution of cases and reduce the crime rate. The death toll due to Japanese encephalitis in Odisha's Malkangiri has climbed to 46 following the death of 4 more children. This has prompted authorities to initiate preventive measures in the unaffected areas as well. As many as 162 patients have so far been admitted to the district headquarters hospital in Malkangiri district since the outbreak of the disease about 35 days ago. Well, it's time for a short break now, but news and updates will continue on the other side. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
The sacred relics of Buddha were unearthed in Piprava in Uttar Pradesh. Buddhist monks from all over the world visit the National Museum to pay their respects. These charred bone fragments of Buddha are housed in the gold canopy gifted by the royal family of Thailand.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, DMK Chief Karunanidhi has termed as surprising Governor Vidyasagar Rao's remarks that the allocation of portfolios to Finance Minister O. Pannirselvam was done as per Jayalalitha's advice. In a statement, Karunanidhi said that there are people questioning whether the ailing Chief Minister actually did sign the file and render her advice on allotting her portfolios. His views come a day after his party treasurer and son M.K. Stalin welcomed the allocation of portfolios held by Jayalalitha to her trusted aide. Karunanidhi claimed that when a slew of leaders including Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi, Union Minister Venkaiah Naidu and Stalin visited the hospital, they were not given the opportunity to directly see her and inquire about her health. There was no official statement from the government, though. She has been hospitalized for the past 19 days. And it has also been said that she may have to stay in hospital for a longer period. He added that the suspicion whether the governor had fully considered all the dimensions of the constitution before giving his nod for the new arrangement cannot be fully ignored. The AIADMK on its part has asserted that the decision was taken after taking Jayalalitha's advice. Now, on Wednesday, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley and BJP President Amit Shah visited Apollo Hospital in Chennai. The two leaders who were received by a host of their party colleagues and officials from Tamil Nadu at the airport were in the hospital for about 30 minutes. After inquiring about the treatment given to the 68-year-old Jayalalitha, the two left the premises without speaking to the media.
As for Rama's instruction, Governor has given a note saying that Honorable CM's portfolios will be taken care by Honorable Minister, Mr. Pannirselvam. And everybody knows he has been Chief Minister also for some time. He's a very good worker, very humble and simple man. So he has taken this portfolios now for time being. Till Hama comes back and takes it, it will be taken care by Honorable Minister, Mr. Pannirselvam.
Moving on, now Myanmar's leader Aung San Suu Kyi will be in India on a 4-day visit beginning October 16th. This will be her first visit after becoming state councillor. During the visit, she will attend the BRICS BIMSTEC Outreach Summit in Goa and hold talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi on key bilateral and regional issues. Suu Kyi, whose National League for Democracy brought down curtains on 5 decades of military rule and assumed power in March this year, is the country's foreign minister. The MEA in its statement said, and I quote, "The visit of the state councillor will provide an opportunity for the two sides to discuss issues of mutual interest and seek ways to further strengthen and close friendly ties that exist between the two countries," unquote. Suu Kyi will be accompanied by several key ministers and senior officials. PTI is quoting sources as saying during the bilateral meeting, border management and ways to contain militant activities along the Indo-Myanmar border will be among the issues that are likely to figure. Both sides are also likely to discuss ways to boost trade ties. During her visit, Suu Kyi will call on President Pranab Mukherjee and also meet External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj. Earlier in August, Myanmar's President Tin Kyaw had visited India and held extensive talks with Prime Minister Modi. Well, some more international news now. Minority Shia Muslims have been targeted in Afghanistan yet again. A bomb blast outside a mosque in northern Balkh province killed at least 14 and wounded 24 among a gathering of worshippers. The devotees had congregated to mark Ashura, one of the holiest days of the Shiite Muslim calendar. This was the second attack targeting the country's Shiite minority in less than 24 hours. Tuesday's attack by a gunman at a Kabul shrine was claimed by the Islamic State. Here's more.
Shiite Muslims in Kabul bidding a tearful goodbye to those who were killed after a lone gunman attacked pilgrims at a shrine on Tuesday. Less than 24 hours after that attack, Shiite community was targeted again at a shrine during the major festival of Ashura. At least 14 Shias were killed after a powerful blast hit at a mosque in the center of Balkh district in northern Afghanistan. 36 people were also wounded in the explosion. The bomb appeared to have been detonated by a remote control. There was no immediate claim of a responsibility for this blast.
دویده همین جا آمدیم که چیکار پس آمده که اینجا شهیدا غلطی رگی بود و این طرف زخمی ها را بار کردیم در موتر خیلی زخمی بود دیگه با تعداد یکم انفجار شد. انفجار که شد کلگی فراگنده شد. اینجا اینا محل عاشورا را از اون طرف می آورد از تکیه خانه می آوردن می رفتن در دیگه تکیه خانه.
Earlier, Islamic State claimed responsibility for the Tuesday's late evening attack in which a gunman entered the Karte Sakhi shrine firing indiscriminately on worshippers as they tried to flee. The death toll from that attack has risen to 18. President Ashraf Ghani condemned the attack as a clear sign of a crime against humanity and the United Nations calling it an atrocity. White House said the strikes were clearly designed to stoke sectarian tension in Afghanistan. The attacks come even as the Shiite Muslims across the world are mourning the 7th century death of Prophet Muhammad's grandson, Imam Hussein. Authorities had warned Shiites to avoid large gatherings.
عزادار امام حسین آمده بودن اینا بیرحمانه شهید شدن و از اینا مادرش و خاله هایش اینا مال در شفاخانه بستر هستن یا بسیار در حالت بد هستن دیگه ما امروز آوردیم و میره دفن خاک کردیم.
Sectarian attacks have been relatively rare in Afghanistan, unlike neighboring Pakistan, where violence, particularly by Sunni hardliners against the Shia minority, has claimed thousands of lives over the past decade. However, Islamic State and the Taliban, being under heavy pressure from US airstrikes and Afghan forces on the ground, have stepped up attacks on the minority groups. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, the UN General Assembly will appoint Antonio Guterres as the next Secretary General today to replace the retiring Ban Ki-moon on the 1st of January next year. The 15-nation Security Council led last week in a closed-door session decided by acclamation to send Guterres' name to the 193-member General Assembly for final approval. Assembly President Peter Thompson said in a note circulated that the date for the appointment of the Secretary General has been set for October 13th in the General Assembly Hall. The adoption of Guterres' name as successor to Ban will be followed by statements by the Secretary General designate. Thompson will also convene an informal meeting next week with Guterres, where all member states and groups will address the session. The term of office for Guterres will start on the 1st of January next year and will end on the 31st of December 2021. In more international news now, the UN's human rights chief has said Donald Trump's deeply unsettling and disturbing views make him a danger internationally. UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Zeid Ra'ad Al Hussein cited Trump's comments on the use of torture and his attitude to vulnerable communities. The Republican presidential candidate's campaign has been marked by a number of controversial comments. Last month, Zaid launched a scathing attack on populists such as Trump and Dutch far-right leader Geert Wilders, calling for action to halt demagogues and political fantasists. Now, he had also compared Trump to Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban France's leader of the National Front, Marine Le Pen, and leading Brexit campaigner Nigel Farage. Those comments sparked a harsh reaction from Russia's ambassador to the UN in New York, Vitaly Churkin, earlier this week. Let's now get you up to date with some overnight sports news in our sports beat. Indian off-spinner Ravichandran Ashwin on Wednesday reclaimed the #1 spot in the test rankings for bowlers following a career-best match haul of 13 for 140 runs in the third test against New Zealand in Indore. Ashwin now has 220 wickets, the most by any bowler after 39 tests. In the rankings for test batsmen, India's middle-order batsman Ajinkya Rahane has attained a career-best 6th rank with scores of 188 and 23 not out. Cheteshwar Pujara and skipper Virat Kohli also moved up the rankings. Tamil Nadu's 11-year-old chess prodigy R. Pragananda took only 18 moves to defeat Paraguayan Grandmaster Axel Bachmann at the Masters section of the Isle of Man Chess Championships recently held at Villa Marina. Pragananda had earlier created history by becoming the youngest ever international master at the age of 10. The Indian junior hockey men's team will participate in a 4-nation international junior hockey tournament in Spain from October 24 to 30th. The team will be led by Harjeet Singh while Dipsan Tirke will be the vice captain. They will play their first match against the 2013 junior world champions Germany on October 24th, followed by Belgium and the host Spain. England wrapped up the 3-match series against Bangladesh by registering a 4-wicket win in the third ODI on Wednesday. Batting first, Bangladesh set a target for 277 with Adil Rashid registering figures of 4 for 43. In reply, half-centuries from Ben Duckett and Sam Billings helped England pull off the highest ever chase in Chittagong with 13 balls and 4 wickets remaining. World number 2 Andy Murray advanced to the third round of the Shanghai Masters with an impressive 6-3, 6-2 victory over American Steve Johnson. He will next play 13th seed Lucas Pauli of France. Meanwhile, 14-time Grand Slam champion Rafael Nadal crashed out of the tournament as he lost to Serbia's Viktor Troicki 6-3, 7-6. Well, that's it on this edition of the Breakfast News. Have a good day.